awards gala and a high school gymnasium, right? The sound system isn't great. We got a tarp out on the floor. You got to be careful. Our gala, our awards gala. But you know what? That's okay. And you know why it's okay? Because we are in the middle of a community that less than 2 months ago was devastated by one of the worst storms in the history of this state. And so the fact that we're still able to be here and celebrate is a blessing. This wasn't our first choice. It wasn't our second choice. It wasn't our third choice. But the fact that we can be here in all of our finery while there are people that are still displaced from their homes is okay. For those who were at the public conversation last night, you heard some of the heart-wrenching stories of the citizens and residents of Selma as they described the harrowing events of the tornado that cost so many of them their homes. And you know, one thing that stood out to me as I heard the pain and the trauma was that unfortunately one of our greatest gifts as black people, particularly black women, is also one of our greatest weaknesses. And it's the ability to make tragedy look like triumph. We are in the middle of a community that is grieving. We are in a community that Forget has rebuilt, that is, in some cases, haven't even picked up the first piece of wood yet. So with that in mind, before we get full into our celebration, I'm gonna need you all to do a favor for me. I need everybody to pull out your one of these, and I know you have your one of these. And I want you to enter this number. 334-378-3700. I'm gonna give that to you again. 334-378-3700. That is the text to give number that will give you a link to not the Jubilees and not this institution or that institution, but the entire coalition of nonprofits in Selma, led by the Black Belt Community Foundation and the city of Selma, to contribute to the storm relief effort. Because I understand that the brilliance to lead the journey to rebuilding is right here in Selma. You all are doing an amazing job. But the cost of that journey is not yours to bear alone. We all have benefited from the fruits of Selma's labor, and now it's all time for us to contribute to that recovery. The number again is 334-378-3700. And now, in the words of my father, let's eat. Huh? We'll be beginning our program back shortly.
Check, check, check. Hi, everyone. My name is Alexandria Washington. Super excited to have you guys with us on this evening. Our ushers, Taryn and Tamara, if you guys could wave your hands over here in the bleachers, Taryn and Tamara, we're going to be dismissing you all by table to go to the back and serve your food. So we'll be getting with you guys here shortly. Thank you.
Okay. At this time, as people continue to go up and begin to eat, we're going to proceed with our welcoming remarks. And we will first hear from the board chair of the Selma Bridge Crossing Jubilee, Miss Rebecca Marion.
Good evening. It is so wonderful to see such an outpouring of my people. Giving honor to God and all my sisters and brothers in Christ, I would like to say, thank God for his grace. He he has shown Selma. Nothing but grace when a tornado comes through with so much destruction and no lives are lost. Nobody but the Almighty God. We are here again, all together on this momentous occasion, the 58th anniversary of the Bridge Crossing Jubilee. You and your dedication continues to make it happen. And for this, you are welcome to your event, the 58th Annual Awards Banquet and Bridge Crossing. Therefore, sit back, relax, and enjoy the evening. You are welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we were scheduled to receive remarks from Congresswoman Terry Sewell. However, I have not seen her in the location. So when Congresswoman Sewell or representatives arrives, we will receive her to the stage for those remarks. Now, if you can join me in welcoming the International President of Phi Beta Sigma, Mr. Chris Ray. And thank you, and I just ask folks to be as respectful and quiet as possible. I know we're moving a little bit behind schedule and folks are eating, but we have an incredible program for you tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. To the committee this evening, I just want to say thank you for inviting the men of Phi Beta Sigma to be a part of this event. We are here this evening and we are getting ready to leave to go to another event as we celebrate our 3 days of good trouble. It is said that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Since our ancestors were forced to be brought to these shores over 400 years ago, each generation has been tasked to take the steps toward freedom ever since. I get the honor and the privilege to serve as the International President of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity, an organization of predominantly black college-educated men who have been assisting in the steps to justice and freedom for over 109 years. As we prepare to make the symbolic walk across the Edmund Pettus Bridge tomorrow, let it be known that it was two Phi Beta Sigma men, 58 years ago, John R. Lewis and Hosea L. Williams, who led the masses across the bridge that would come to be known as Bloody Sunday. We are proud of the contributions of our fraternity then, and we are also proud of the work that we will do now as we march towards dealing with injustice and those who want to roll back our freedom and attempt to erase our history of contributions and struggles to this country. So on behalf of the International Board of Directors and over 300,000 men who have entered the ranks of our great organization, I greet you all in love, brotherhood, and also knowing that you have an ally who is ready to roll up their sleeves and get in good trouble, necessary trouble. Because if we as a people are going to move the needle, we must never give up, we must never give in, and we must always keep the faith. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, these events are not possible without support. And it's important to know that Phi Sigma Beta every year, are always here with their presence, with their members, and with their dollars. So I thank you. Next, we will hear from Probate Judge James Perkins. Is Probate Judge Perkins in the house? Oh, sorry. Mayor Perkins. Yes. Yeah. All right. When Mayor Perkins arrives, we will welcome him to the stage. Next, Dallas County Probate Judge Jimmy Nunn. Jimmy Nunn, is Probate Judge Jimmy Nunn in the house? Yes, thank you.
Let me say good evening to everyone. Truly, it's a blessing to be with you this evening, giving honor to God, who is the head of my life, and to everyone else. We're just glad to have you in Selma, Dallas County, Alabama. And we want to welcome you into Senator Warnock and to Congresswoman Waters, and also want to say to Hank Sanders and to Fire Rose Teray, we want to thank you all for everything that you all have done, to all of the elected officials, and to everyone else. If you are here, you are an important person. So we appreciate you being here this evening. I'm glad to be in your presence. I'm glad to have you here tonight at the Freedom Flame Awards. Today affords us an opportunity to recognize individuals who have paved the way, our leaders, who have paved the way for us to be where we are today. It is very important that we recognize and realize the role that each and every one of y'all have played in making Selma who she is today. The Freedom Flame Awards commemorates those men and women who have worked tirelessly to ensure social and economic justice for African Americans, while adding to the legacy placed before them. While we are here in Selma, Dallas County, as was stated earlier, Selma took a blow. Selma took a hit, but Selma was not defeated. Selma is still here, and with your help, Selma is going to build back better. We are Selma strong, and we are going to be a better Selma, Dallas County. We are at a pivotal moment here as we continue to write Selma's history. Again, we welcome you to Selma, Dallas County. On behalf of my office as probate judge and chairman of the Dallas County Commission, and all of the commissioners, Carnell Towns, Vivian Rogers, Jan Justice, and Curtis Williams, we bring welcome and greetings to you. We are really excited that you have chose Selma for this weekend to visit and to take part in commemorating the 58th anniversary of Bloody Sunday and Selma to Montgomery March. Again, thank you for being here tonight, and may God bless you.
And lastly is the Selma City Superintendent of Public Schools, Dr. Zacchaeus Bird. Zacchaeus Bird, is Dr. Zacchaeus Bird in the house? Okay. Again, some of these welcomes we'll receive as people come along.
When I say I go, please say I may. I go. I go. I go. If you can hear my voice, I go. Repeating after me. UNITY. I think I heard about 10 people. I'm going to start that one more time. Repeating after me. UNITY. 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 We can fly so high with UNITY. Together we will be like a family. No one can break us apart because we're one big heart. With determination, we can build a nation. We can fly so high with UNITY.
And that's what it was. Unity. In 1965 and in 2023. Last night, when we listened to the comments and the conversation about what happened 58 years ago and what's going on now, there was a call to listen to our youth, to listen to their stories, to their pain, to their triumph, to their tragedies, and to their victories. And so, when we look back to 1963, when Dr. Lafayette and Coley Lafayette came to Selma to organize, to help ignite a movement for voting rights, no one wanted the job. In fact, I remember hearing Dr. Lafayette 2 days ago saying, when they were organizing the Freedom Rides, they drove right through Selma. Why? Because they felt that the white folks were too dangerous and the black people were too scared. But he took the job anyway. And he began where? With recruiting our young people, our students. And the first two students he recruited were Charles Bonner, who I'm going to ask to come up to the stage at this point. Mr. Charles Bonner. And Cleophas Hobbs. And then, those were the first two that he recruited. And those two students then went on to Hudson High School and began to recruit an army of students to stand to join the freedom movement. Within weeks, those two turns into hundreds of young people that had joined the movement and ignited the flame. So at this time, in joining Mr. Bonner, we bring our Igniters of the Flame recipients to the stage. Terry Shaw, Viola Johnson Dudley, Charles Robertson, Betty Mae Sykes, Pastor Evelyn Mann, and represented by his wife, Cleophas Hobbs. And as they come and join, we're going to ask Mr. Bonner, and I'm sure as we hear his remarks on behalf of the group, you can correct me with any of the history I may have misstated. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother. Thanks, everyone, for being here, and particularly my dear mentor, Reverend Bernard Lafayette. You know, God does not make mistakes nor create coincidence. She is very intentional all the time. And let me briefly tell you the story of the Selma student civil rights movement. Cleophas Hobbs and I were pushing my mother's little green 54 Ford down Church Street heading south. We had run out of gas. Gas was expensive. It was 25 cents a gallon. For a 16-year-old kid, that was a lot of money. And we saw this young man walking, a stranger, brown coat, yellow shirt, tie. We knew he was not from Selma because of the way he walked. And he walked past this little grocery store, past a red and white Coca-Cola sign, and walked right over to the car and put his hands on it and started pushing the car with us. And he announced that he was Reverend Bernard Lafayette, and he was from SNCC, and he had come to Selma to organize our students. As we pushed the car on around the corner to the west, up into the driveway of my mom's big yellow house on Small Street, he sat on the porch with us, and after about 2 hours, he kept telling us that we were going to change Selma, that we were going to go into grocery stores, and we were going to go into cafes, and we were going to go into lunch counters, and that we would be beaten, and they would put hot coffee on us, and they would put cigarette out on our hands, but we would be nonviolent. We would be nonviolent. He kept stressing we would be nonviolent. And my buddy Cleo and I looked at each other and said, this man must be crazy. Where did he come from? Sensing after about an hour into this conversation that we were not buying into the concept of nonviolence, he very pointedly said, well, I can see that you've been to church today. Incidentally, do you know the name of the man that killed Mahatma Gandhi? We said, no. He said, well, clearly you've been to church. Do you know the name of the men that killed Jesus Christ? We said, no. He said, well, the reason why you do not know the name of the man that killed Gandhi or the name of the men that killed Jesus Christ is because they were men of violence, and they were men of hate, and they did not understand that they were the embodiment of the Spirit of God. But the reason why you know the name of Mahatma Gandhi and the reason why you know the name of Jesus Christ is because they were men of love. They were men of compassion, and they were nonviolent, and they understood that every human being was the embodiment of the creating Spirit of God. That was a game changer. We said, well, what do you want us to do? And he said, well, I want you to bring all the students tomorrow night to the basement of the Tabernacle Church, and we're going to teach you nonviolence. We're going to teach you freedom songs. We're going to teach you how, when you do go out and demonstrate, how to be nonviolent. And that's what we did. He walked off the porch, and he started walking away, and we said, can we go home with you? And he said, yeah. So he took us home, and then the door opened, and there's this beautiful black face, Collier Lafayette, his then wife, and welcomed us in. And for 6 months, from the end of February all the way to September 16th of 1963, we practiced nonviolence in the basement of the Tabernacle Church. On September 16th, the day after the bombing of the 4 girls in Birmingham, we heard about this. We went over to the Freedom House. We knocked on the door. We called for Bernard and Collier. They were not there. We opened the door. They were not there. And Cleo and I said, well, they've trained us what to do. They told us that they were not our leaders, so we have to just go do it. So we called all of our kids, all of our students, Evelyn Manns, Betty Feist, Viola Johnson. We called Terry Shaw. Say, don't go to school, but meet us at Tabernacle Church. And they did. And we went down to Carter's drugstore, led by Willie C. Robinson, Charles Robinson's brother. We went into the drugstore. Willie C. first went to the left, bought some candy, and then went over to the right to the lunch counter and ordered a hamburger and a Coke. This white man down at the end with these round green stools started walking towards us. He reached underneath the counter and pulled out an axe handle, hit Willie C. across the head. Blood gushed everywhere. Bernard didn't tell us that it was going to get that bloody. 4 students were arrested. We went back to the church, and we told the kids what had happened. So now we have a choice. Do we go back to school, or we do go back to the streets? Every hand, we go back to the streets. And we've been in the streets ever since until this day. That is the brief story of the history of the Selma student nonviolent civil rights movement. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. We'd like all of the honorees. We can have 2 on this side of this, and 2, if you 2 can step up on this side, so we can get some pictures. Step up right up. Step up forward. You want to step up right next to each other? Just hold. If you could hold up your award so we can get the pictures.
And Charles Neblett is going to be accepting the awards on behalf of Betty Sykes.
Betty Mae Fikes. I came to Selma early at a mass meeting, and I heard this voice over everybody. And I couldn't wait till I found that person When I found the person, it was some little old girl with the biggest voice in the room. That was Betty Mae Fikes. And she's courageous. I'll give you one story. Betty followed me to a Klan rally. It was 10,000 Klansmen. And people in Atlanta wasn't as large as it is now, but they were in Atlanta, they were saying they were kind of afraid. People were afraid. And we was in the office and saying, how in the world could some people come here and make all these Negroes scared? We said, we ain't scared. What we did, I told him, let's go to the rally. Is it a public meeting? He said, yeah. I said, let's go. And Betty went. And it was rough, because we took a beating. But that's the kind of girl she is. And it's the kind of person you're giving the Freedom Flame Award to. She'd follow you with this freedom, love, and justice. She'd be right there. And I'm more than glad to accept this award with her. She sang with us. She sang with us. And I'm more than happy, more than glad, more than honored to receive the award for Betty.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, my brother.
We want to
Thank you. If you can give it up.
We want everybody to join in thanking these awesome foot soldiers by joining us in this song.
We will lift foot soldiers up. They're not heavy. They're not heavy. If we don't lift them up, we don't lift them up. If we don't lift them up, we will fall down.
Well, everybody, please stand up and show some love. These are the young people. They're old now, but they are the foot soldiers who ignited the movement. They are the Beyoncés of the civil rights movement. Thank you.
One last comment. If you really want to know the story of the Selma Civil Rights Movement, read Reverend Bernard Lafayette's book about Selma Towards Freedom, and also pick up my book called Tip of the Era, the story of the Selma Student Nonviolent Movement. I will have some shelves at the St. James Hotel where I'm staying if anyone wants to purchase one, but they will tell the whole story. And we never did imagine 60 years ago that this would be the result, where people know about Selma all over the world because of Reverend Dr. Bernard Lafayette and his then wife, Colia Lafayette. Please give Bernard Lafayette a hand, because he came to Selma and freed us slaves. I'm eternally grateful to him. Thank you, my brother.
After that first wave of student leadership, it does just like each wave does in the ocean. It grew and grew. One gave birth to a second and to a third, and so on and so on. At this point, I'm going to ask Charles Malden to come up and join me on stage as we recognize the second wave of student leaders. See, after Dr. Lafayette, which again, it is such an honor. Let me just say this for a minute. You know, one of the things that my father was so honored about was that while he was still on this earth, he got to hear the praise and the love, not just from those people who admired him as an entertainer, but for those people who truly stood with him. So for us to be here in the presence of these giants, you all, giants that made this here possible for us to be able to be here today, recognizing the wealth of black elected officials, this is not a gift that we can't go without acknowledging. We have to honor that and treasure that, because from years from now, our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren will read these very names in the history books. But the fact that we're able to sit in their presence and hear them tell their stories is a blessing that we cannot take for granted. And so in that second wave, shortly after Dr. Lafayette was beaten, horribly beaten, bloodied, on the same day that Medgar Evers lost his life, the movement still moved forward. Dr. Charles Malden represented the leadership of that second wave that's represented tonight in the awards that we give to Baba Mukasa Willie Ricks. Please join us. As I read your name, please come up. Albert Salthall, Chief Henry Allen, and from Marion, Alabama, Dr. Janet Howard Moore and Margaret Moore. Dr. Moore, I'll turn it over to you for comments on this group.
This is something that I definitely didn't expect. And part of like following in the foot soldiers tradition, we sort of realized that there was nothing special about one individual in the civil rights movement. It was a community that made the movement happen. I followed in the footsteps of people like Charles Bonner, Willie C. Robertson, Betty Fikes, Reverend Evelyn Mann, Viola Douglas. These were the people who actually started the movement. Like they said, I came in a second wave. I was influenced by them. I remember Terry Shaw, who may or may not be here tonight, was my neighbor, and he invited me to the March on Washington in 1963. I was about 14 or 15 years old, and my parents wouldn't allow me to go, and I realized how much I missed by that happening. But I'd like to emphasize the fact that it was more than one person who went across the bridge. We like to give credit to individuals who stood out, and it was very important that we recognize that. But more importantly, what I've done by starting the Foot Soldiers Breakfast approximately 18 years ago is to highlight the story of ordinary people who did extraordinary things and created a movement. It was not Dr. King, it was not John Lewis only, it was not Reverend Abernathy, it was not Bernard Lafayette. It was a group of folks who came behind them, the foot soldiers who actually made the Selma movement. And what is extraordinary about that recognition is that it lets us know, as a matter of fact, James Orange used to have an expression, I'm not sure how many of you know James Orange. He called everybody a leader. And the reason he called everybody a leader, because what the Civil Rights Movement showed us is that each one of us individually had the potential to show leadership and to stand up to that occasion. That's what I did then. That's what the folks that I admire do now. I'd like to just turn this over to whomever to follow.
Good evening. Thank God for the fire. I said because I'm the author of a book, and the title of my book is The Youth of Selma Marched Through the Flame and Did Not Burn. And I did it because the fact that the heat, when the civil rights movement had simmered down and we got this voter right bill passed and I thought it was all over, I didn't know there was a lot of jobs waiting on me and they're going to be in the fire. So I left Selma and came back to the city of Selma and then went to the Vietnam War, and then the heat was really on in Vietnam War. So when I came back home to Selma and worked in Montgomery, and every further I got away from Selma, something kept drawing me back to Selma. I said, what is it about Selma? There's no job, there's nothing here. And so I came back and applied for a state trooper job, what they called me to the state, to be a state trooper. But what it was, it'd been in the Vietnam War, trained to be a bounty hunter. So my job was a bounty hunter. My job was not to save lives, my job was to go out and hunt and take lives.
So that spirit was still in me when I came back to Selma. I said, I can't take a state trooper job. They told me in North Alabama. I mean, that's where all the Ku Klux hang out at. And the first thing they're going to do with a pistol in my hand, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to shoot it. And so when all those things was going through it, and then the fire chief, I was sitting on my front porch. The fire chief came by and said, oh, your name Henry Allen? I said, yes, it is. He said, you got the most impressive application I've ever seen. He said, follow me back to the firehouse. I followed him back to the firehouse, and I sit there, and the first black man been inside that station. Now, I didn't get to be chief without 9 other steps. So I sit there, and they said, what you plan on doing? I said, I'm finna go home shortly. They said, no, you're not. You don't get off till 7 o'clock in the morning. I said, what? You mean I'm high? He said, yeah, you high. And so it being the first black to walk inside a firehouse in the city of Selma, Alabama, when racism is still at the highest peak, everything around. But one thing was for sure, that God had prepared me. I was ready for the battlefield. I'm top dog. So I went in there. Within about a year or so, I had a promotion. Another year, I had another promotion. And then they put the brakes on me. That's when I really had to go to work. File a racial discrimination suit against Selma, Alabama, with Mayor Smitterman controlling Selma as the chief. When I filed a racial discrimination lawsuit, I had to stay in that night. God is so good. You had the policeman protect me in the daytime, and the Alabama National Guard watched me at the night. Because that's why I was a part of Alabama. First black to join the Alabama National Guard. Well, all the races and all the bides were there. But one thing was for sure, God prepared me for every battle I was in. I stayed in the fire. I never got out the fire. Still in the fire. So thank you very much. God bless.
Let's hear it again, and we're going to, okay.
Thank you. Greetings. My name is Mukasa, formerly Willie Ricks of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And I organized for SNCC across the South, and that we came to fight for human rights that's being violated through colonialism and a system where the rich get richer and the poor get poor. And we had to go in the back door, say, yes, sir, we were killed, murdered, and we were in a very economic, sad condition like we're in today. If you look around Selma, you'll find one of the poorest country cities that you ever seen, and that the people in Selma today is just as poor as they was 50 years ago. But that's just not for Selma, but that's for the whole United States and for us all over the world. Today, our homeland, Africa, we are Africans, come from the richest land in the world, but yet the Africans are the poorest people in the world because we've been exploited for centuries of exploitation and domination. And this exploitation and domination is coming from the United States, from NATO, from the United Nations, and from all these multinational corporations. And Martin Luther King, as we use his name, he would speak out against this war monger that the United States is, waging war in Africa, dropping bombs in Mali, Somalia, and imperialism is raping the Congo, and they're exploiting us everywhere. They're charging us for things that should be free: water, lights, gas, housing, medicine, education, and they must be stopped. There are some greedy, murdering pigs, and we must organize to stop it. And the revolution is just getting started, and we are ready to fight. We are ready to organize, and we're going to join all together with our brothers in Africa, the Caribbean, the West Indies, and all over the world. And we're going to tell the world that Africa must be free, and we will free our people, we will educate our people, and we will make revolution until justice comes. Long live Africa, long live the revolution, and we will fight and we will win. Black power, black power, black power, Black power! Black power!
Now, if everyone can come together, and I'm going to ask Miss Betty Boynton, whose name I forgot to call, to come up as well, on behalf of not just herself, but the Boynton family, whose legacy is not only strong here in Selma, but in the world.
I'm Betty Boynton. I joined the movement in '64, and I was like 14 years old. We protest and we marched, and I come back out in '64. I joined the movement again in '65, and that's Bloody Sunday. We march, protest, and they put us, while we was protesting, they was taking us, we was protesting at the courthouse for our parents to be registered voters so we could get better jobs, housing, and everything in Selma. They taken us to the National Guard Army. They made us push the wall, and if you didn't push the wall, you would get they would shock you. Then we stayed at the National Guard Armory by 4 hours. They taken us to Camp Selma, which is a prison, and we stayed down there about 7 or 8 hours. What they did was let the boys go, and they made us stand in water. Then coming up, leading on up to Bloody Sunday. That was an awful day. Jose Williams, we was his scouts. We went across the river. And we didn't see anything but the state troopers on the side. We come back to the church and told them everything was okay. Oh my goodness. When they lined up in twos and was going across the river. As we were approaching going across the river, the first traffic light, that's when they come out with their horses. Oh, that was an awful day. And beating people, tear gas. I didn't even know what tear gas was. And we made it run. I said, help me, Jesus. We run all the way across back across the bridge. And we run and we got in this car. And we was on our way back to the church. We got down there on Long Street. They was had horses cross the street. They made us get out the car. And this man, when I look back, I have PTSD today behind that. He was running behind me with this horse and this billet stick. It was an awful time. And when I did, Miss Hopkins said, oh my darling, come on, come on. And I run in her house. And when I did get my breath, and I heard everybody screaming upstairs, say, look, 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 what's happening? They had the horses trying to get in the church. Thank you.
Let's hear it again for the student foot soldiers.
I would like to thank the committee for this award. I'm very grateful. I'm Dr. Janet Howard Moore from Marion, Alabama, the hometown of Jubilee Jackson. When he was killed and was not treated in Marion, he was brought to Selma, Good Samaritan Hospital. After that, we formed a protest, and that's why we came down to Selma. We were students, my sister Margaret and I, but my dad made sure we were here. And I ended up in the hospital. I'm one of 17 that was injured. Thank you for this award. The struggle continues.
Good evening. I would just like to, first of all, thank Hank and Rose Sanders for nominating me for this award. I'm from Marion, Alabama, the hometown of Jubilee Jackson. Unfortunately, or fortunate, I don't know which one it is, but I was on the street that night when he was shot. Thank you.
Thank you again. Let's hear it again for the student igniters of the flame. Don't they look so young? Let's give it up.
Well, the first thing they did right was the day they decided to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on.
And now, we welcome the founder and executive director of the Bridge Crossing Jubilee to introduce to us our next presenter. Mama Fire Rose Teray Sanders. Everybody, let's hear it for Mama Fire Rose Teray Sanders.
Thank you. Sit down. It is my privilege to introduce the person who will introduce the first African-American senator from Georgia. Now, Dr. Warnock, I want you to know, they tried very hard for me to get me to introduce you. I don't feel worthy to do that. And the only reason why I feel worthy to introduce the sister that will introduce you, because she's like a sister to me. She has been, don't let me cry, through a lot of storms in Selma. Maxine Waters, whenever she came, I knew she would stand by me. Maxine, my sister, please come and introduce one of the most awesome senators. And the reason why we're taking him out of turn is because he is a true minister. He has to get back to Atlanta tonight. Y'all give up some love to the most awesome congresswoman, congressperson, elected official, except my husband that I know.
Wow, wow, wow. Good evening, everyone. I am so proud and delighted to be here. I want you to know that I worried for a number of months because so much was going on in Washington, D.C. I thought it would interfere with my ability to be here where I wanted to be at the Jubilee. But things worked out, and I'm here. I'm so proud. I feel so good. And I want you to know that Thea Rose Saunders is my dear sister. We have been so close for so many years. I miss her so very much. I think she is one of the finest civil rights lawyers that ever lived in this country. She has worked so hard for Selma. She has paid a price. She has sacrificed. She's did more than any one human being could do to show the love for her city, for her country, and for her people. I want you to give her another round of applause. And of course, she couldn't have done it without Hank. There sits Hank, Senator Hank Sanders, who is a wonderful attorney, who works in great partnership with his wife. They are people who are truly committed to the understanding and the possibility of freedom and justice for all. Give Hank a big round of applause. And so I just happened to be sitting at the table with them, and they're sitting with another great civil rights leader, a civil rights leader who has sacrificed, who have been undermined, who everything possible that could happen with a human being has happened to try and stop him, but he kept rising. He never stopped. Give Dr. Ben Shavers a big round of applause. The CEO of the Black Newspaper Publishers Association. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, why is he important? He's important because we don't always get the news that we need and news about us in a positive way. But because of him and the way that he runs this operation with all of the black newspapers in America, We get to know things that are going on in our communities that we would never hear about, we would never know about. Give them a big round of applause. And of course, I have so many friends in the audience, but I must tell you that Reverend Mark Thompson is one of them, and he is committed to the struggle. He's here organizing and working on Jubilee every year. Where are you, Mark? Give him a big round of applause. Thank you. And so, let me just say that I wanted Rose to introduce this most important person. And of course, Rose has a way of, if she can't get you to do it, she'll find someone else to sick on you. And she sicked, I want you to know, she sicked Reverend Mark Thompson on me. And then I couldn't find her to try and say, no, I wouldn't do it. And so here I am, and I'm going to ask her to come up on this stage with me, because it takes more than one person to introduce Raphael Warnock, who is a senator from Georgia, who recently got elected, who we love so very much. Rose, would you please join me? Mark, Reverend Mark. Reverend Mark Thompson, come on up here. Rose,
Every once in a while.
Oh, y'all come on up here. It takes more than one person to introduce him. That's why I'm saying I want you here, Mark, and I want Rose here. I want Thea here. Now, I want you to know that this very special human being, United States Raphael Warnock, has joined us on the stage. But I want you to know he is not an ordinary human being. He is not just an elected official. This is a gentleman, a very special man who came to us at a very special time in the history of this country. It was the right time, and he was the right person. Don't you know, we will not be the majority in the United States Senate but for Raphael Warnock. But for Raphael Warnock. It would not have happened. I want you to know that this gentleman, this pastor, this preacher, this man of God, who was inspired by Dr. Martin Luther King, not only has he served as a leader in the church and taken over that church that was Dr. Martin Luther King's church, and has led the church and has worked with civil rights continuously. This pastor, this preacher, has had to be confronted by people that we pay to protect and serve us, because sometimes when they're not right, they got to deal with people like Raphael Warnock, and that he has not been afraid to do. But he has been there on all kinds of issues. Don't you know that coming from Georgia, he is a progressive legislator. He fights for Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare and all of the issues that we know will hold us in good stead if we're treated right and the government does what it's supposed to do to care about the quality of life for all of us. I adore him. I love him. He came from humble beginnings. We have something in common. He came from a family of 13. I came from a family of 13. It was a poor family. They didn't have much. His mother picked cotton. But look where her son is today. And I want you to know, he can teach us all some very special lessons. When he's attacked, he does not quite handle it the way Maxine Waters handles it. Because Maxine Waters will step outside of the box and use words she shouldn't use. But he's a gentleman. He knows how to handle himself. He knows how to make other people ashamed of what they just said or what they just did. He knows how not only to handle himself, but he has the kind of presence where he can reach across the aisle and talk to people who really hate us all. But he does this, ladies and gentlemen. He's been elected. When he came into that special election, I said, I don't know, that's Georgia. I don't know if he can make it. But he won that special election. He went on. Everybody that knew him wanted him to run. He had the endorsement of every top elected official in this country. And he stepped out there, he ran, he handled himself very well. He had an opponent. Oh, I don't want to talk about Herschel Walker. I don't really want to talk about him because he had an opponent that many other people would have just stepped up and told everything they knew about the lies that he was telling. He didn't do that. He kept it way high. And he talked about the issues. He talked about Georgia. He talked about our history. He did what few of us can do because he's a man of God. And he's here at the right time, at the right point in our history, doing the right things. And he's going to help us turn the United States Senate around. He's going to make sure that they are not tied up with cloture for the rest of the time that he serves. He's going to be dealing with that so that we don't have to have 60 votes who say what we can't do, but we have a simple majority that says what we can do. Give United States Senator Raphael Warnock a big round of applause.
Every once in a while,
We have a special tribute song to you, Senator, by Dick Graber's daughter.
every once in a while, a child is born who lights up the way. Every once in a while, his guiding light leads the way. Every once in a while, God sends down a special angel to touch a special child, and a man is born. A very special man is born, and Raphael Warnock is one. Every once in a while, every once in a while, God sends down a special angel to touch a special child, and a man is born. A very special man is born, and Raphael Warnock, woo, and Raphael Warnock, you're the one.
Well, hello everybody. I'm a Baptist preacher. I said, hello everybody. Thank you so very much. I do not have words adequate to express the depth of my gratitude for you, for this honor, and for this moment. Thank you so very much, Congresswoman Maxine Waters. None like you in the world. Whatever you're doing to stay so young, you ought to bottle it and sell it. Maxine Waters is amazing and an incredible activist. Give Congresswoman and activist Maxine Waters a great big round of applause. Mama Fire Rose, and for that amazing solo and tribute. I am honored and humbled. I mean that. I am honored and humbled because I'm a post-civil rights generation baby. I didn't face what Bernard Lafayette faced. I wasn't beat down like C.T. Vivian. Gassed like Amelia Boynton. I stand on their shoulders, Fannie Lou Hamer, who said, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I am because we are. And because we are, therefore I am. So thank you for keeping the flame alive. This honor, this recognition only encourages me to work harder. Because I was raised by a man who picked up broken cars and loaded them on the back of a truck. That's how he took care of his family. But on Sunday morning, my dad, who spent all week picking up broken cars, picked up broken people. And reminded them that God sees treasure in what other people see as trash. My mother grew up in Waycross, Georgia in the 1950s, picking somebody else's tobacco, somebody else's cotton. But a little while ago, she helped pick her youngest son to be a United States Senator. And I didn't go through all of that, all of the attacks, the lies, on top of lies, on top of lies. I didn't go through all of that just to make history. I went through that for the chance to make a difference, to cap the cost of insulin for folks because insulin shouldn't be unaffordable. To pass an expanded child tax credit, which if we would extend it would cut child poverty in this country 40 to 50%. The last great push of Dr. King was the Poor People's Campaign. If we extended the child tax credit, we would cut child poverty 40 to 50%. I didn't run just to make history. I ran to make a difference. I ran so that I might every now and then. I'm not in love with politics. I'm in love with change. I put up with politics because every now and then I get to do something that is just amazing and it blows my mind. And to be honest, every now and then things are moving so fast I have to go home and say and just think about what just happened. Oh, I just voted to confirm the first African-American woman to the United States Supreme Court. Even with Joe Biden in the White House, if we did not have the Senate, voting matters. That's what Selma did. You gave us our voice. If we had not won the Senate, Ketanji Brown Jackson would not be sitting on the Supreme Court as qualified as she is. The other party never would have brought her up. They never. You've seen the recent history, they never would have brought her up. Am I right, Congresswoman? They never would have brought her up. So thank you for this honor. I think often of my parishioner, the great John Lewis. I was his pastor, but he was the mentor. He crossed that bridge not because he knew he would win, but because he knew it was right. It's right just to do what's right. And as I prepared to officiate his funeral service, I asked myself, what was John Lewis thinking when he was crossing that bridge? Here's what I know he was not thinking. He was not thinking that he would become the recipient of a Presidential Medal of Freedom. That's not why he did it. Could not have even imagined it. He did not cross that bridge because he felt that at the end of his life, he would have a funeral at Ebenezer Baptist Church, and 3 American presidents on both sides of the aisle would be there to honor him. He crossed that bridge, nothing but a trench coat, backpack. What was he trying to do? I think he was just trying to stay alive that day so he could fight the next. But by some stroke of destiny and human resilience, he crossed the bridge and built the bridge at the same time, and all of us made our way to where we are right now. We owe a debt of gratitude not only to John Lewis, not only to Bernard Lafayette, not only to those who were out front, not only to Hosea Williams, but to the foot soldiers. The names that are not in anybody's book. So thank you. I've got to get out of here in just a little while. I've been the pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church now for almost 18 years, and I still return on Sunday mornings to preach. And y'all know how you all are on Sunday morning. Pastor don't show up. So I'm going to leave in just a little while, and my youth are on their way here in the morning. But thank you, because we didn't just have a campaign, we had a movement. Thank you for those of you who answered my many text messages that I sent personally to each of you. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for knocking on doors. Thank you for calling your friends. Thank you for sending postcards. And we got to do that over and over and over again, because we are somewhere between January 5th and January 6th. And we've got to decide which way we're going to go. In closing, and nobody believes a Baptist preaching when he says in closing. We've got a lot of work to do. We've got to pass voting rights, and I'm committed to doing it. Hear me, I'm committed to getting it done. And I won't rest. I will not rest until we renew the Voting Rights Act, till we pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. I will not rest until we get it done. No Senate rule, no Senate procedure is more important than the fundamental basic right to vote. Voting rights, as the Supreme Court said, are preservative of all other rights. And so I intend to make good use of the power you've given me. And we're going to work and get this done. And every now and then when I feel discouraged, I just consider the grand arc of history. When I was born in 1969, Georgia was represented by 2 effective United States senators. I must admit, they were effective. They brought home some good things for Georgia. But they were both arch segregationists. One of them said, "We love the Negro in his place. And his place is at the back door." Well, thanks to what you did, people all over Georgia did, I now sit in his seat. And the other day I got a chance to move from one office to another office building. My office, they said, you've now elevated in seniority, we can move you to another office in Hart. I said, no, I want to stay in Russell. Named after that other Georgia senator who was an arch segregationist. I kind of like the irony of me being in a building with his name on it, and every now and then I pass by the statue that's there, and I look up And I say, how you like me now? Thank you so very much. God bless you. Keep the faith.
All right, all right, all right. Let's hear it again for Senator Raphael Warnock. We're going to keep moving along with our program here. We still have several awardees to acknowledge for the tireless work that they continue to do, not just documenting, not just remembering, but writing new pages in the history book for voting rights, civil rights, social justice. As I mentioned before, Selma needs us to stand with her now more than ever. If you did not get this earlier, I want you again, take out a pen, take out a phone, write this number down, 334-378-3700, to text to give to support the tornado relief effort here in Selma. Now, when it comes to support, this event would not be possible without the generous support of many of our funders. A lot of times we sit back and we may attend and not realizing the effort that goes on behind the scenes, the outreach, and those who are bold enough to answer that call when it comes. And at this point, I want to bring to you one of our greatest and strongest sponsors, the Executive Director of Common Power, Mr. Charles Douglas, to deliver remarks.
Goodness gracious. How do you follow Raphael Warnock, Reverend Raphael Warnock? My goodness. I think it's appropriate, actually, that they asked the young brother from Seattle to follow Reverend Warnock, because we're going to try him out. We're going to see how he does. It's a good follow. So thank you for that introduction. Common Power is an organization so named because we believe that the most common power that everyone should have is the power of the vote. That's what Common Power means. Now, I want to tell you about who I am for just 1 second, because I come up here and I say the word brother, and I know some of y'all are like, is he black though? I'm half black and Filipino. I want to get that out of the way. Black and Filipino. So thank you for clapping for that. I appreciate that. My mom loves you for that. Thank you. I'm from a place called Tacoma, just south of Seattle, working class town. And Tacoma was blessed with two things. Two things from California. One of them were gangs. And that was the neighborhood I grew up in, called Hilltop. There are hoods in and around Seattle. I know I was having dinner with Coach, and Coach said, man, ain't no hoods in Seattle. I said, yeah, there's hoods up my way. That was what I grew up in. That was one thing that came into my life. The second thing was my stepfather, and he saved me, basically. And he came from the Black Panther Party in Oakland, California. He grew up down the street from the Black Panthers and would go there and get education as a young man. And so as a young man, I came up with these learnings. Not just that it was my responsibility to be a leader of my generation, but that I had to do it and do it again and again and again. So that leads me to Common Power and the 3 lessons that he taught me. The first lesson is to whom much is given, much is required. To whom much is given, much is required. Our organization starts with education, with the truth about history in America, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because when you know better, you do better. All right. Our education at Common Power is led by tenured university professors on staff who talk about the true history of race and voting in America and the struggle for basic rights, a struggle that many of you participated in firsthand, as we heard today. They teach our Common Power volunteers that many of their inalienable rights were just dreams for our elders, and that those things they take for granted were fought for, and that we need to continue fighting for them again and again and again. An average of 100 people every week go through our educational programs in the Institute for Common Power. And every summer, 60 college students go through a 12-week program where we pay them $1,000 to learn this history. We pay them. I want to have Dr. Terry Scott, who leads the Institute for Common Power, stand up. Larcy Douglas is in the back, and she leads Action Academy. Any college students that are here today, come and talk to us, please. We would like to give you money to learn this history. Much is required. They learned that they owe you all a debt, one that should only be paid forward towards future generations, just as you did. Much is required also speaks to the length of this fight. It is much more, much longer, and tougher than we thought it would be in 2016. We won't stop tyranny, authoritarianism, or just plain bad men in any single election or presidential cycle. Real change is generational work, and volunteers move through our institute ready for the fight ahead. The next lesson my dad taught me is that you cannot try to replicate the past. You've got to innovate on it. A major innovation of Common Power on the ground is that our volunteers have a constancy of action. We work year-round to pipe in volunteers and leads so that we are ready to show up for elections every fall and the special elections in between. We are constantly catalyzing and motivating people through that education. We stay educated, we stay motivated, we stay trained, and we stay mobilized. At Common Power, we don't get ready, we stay ready. So lesson number 2 is stay ready. 500 plus Common Power volunteers traveled during the midterms last year to 9 states around the country, most of those to Georgia. And in those extra innings for Reverend Warnock that we spent for those 3 weeks, we knocked on 10,000 doors in 3 weeks, y'all. 10,000 doors in 3 weeks, and then right after that, we were asked to participate in a special election for Aaron Ralph. Okay. That's what you get when you follow Reverend Warnock. My message is simply this. Common Power is an organization that does not believe that it is inventing anything new. We follow in y'all's footsteps. And while we may be from Seattle, we're not innovating on anything more than y'all did. We follow y'all's lead. So that's what we're here to do behind the scenes. We work with Miss Joanne Bland. We are working with Miss Jackie at the coffee shop. There's a building at the foot of the bridge that our community purchased, and the first thing to go in that building was Selma, not Seattle. That's the message I want to bring with you today. It's not about what we think, it's what y'all need, and y'all tell us every day. So we are honored to support y'all. Thank y'all for coming. Thank you for letting me ramble on here and try to do my best. Thank you.
Let's hear it for Common Power. Congratulations to them and give them another round of applause. Amen. Common Power, y'all. Where is Congresswoman Waters? We were just reminiscing, and God bless you all. Y'all look so good tonight. Some of you may not remember this, but years ago, Bobby Blue Bland performed at the Jubilee. How many people remember Bobby Blue Bland? There you go. Joanne remembers. And he serenaded Congresswoman Waters. We were just reminiscing about that. We're here to serenade her and all of us tonight, someone who shared the same record label as Bobby Blue Bland. Please, ladies and gentlemen, on your feet for an R&B legend, Lenny Williams.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Girl, you know I love you. No matter what you do. And I hope you understand me. Every word I say is true. Come on, y'all. 'Cause I love you. Baby, I'm thinking of you. Trying to be more of a man for you. And I don't have much riches, but we gonna see you through. Let me hear you. 'Cause I love you. Some men need lots of women for their passions to feel. But I want only you, girl. If it's I need you. I want to. I need you. I need your love. Makes me grow stronger. It keeps me going on. Oh, baby. Y'all feeling good out there? If you feel good to me, hear you say yeah. I want to thank you for having me here tonight, and such a plethora of great folks here tonight. All the soldiers that fought so long for our civil rights, especially on that bloody Sunday. And I'm just glad to be a part of it tonight. I want to thank you so much. All right, God bless you. Thank you. All right. I love you. I love you. Oh yeah.
Lenny Williams! So, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to stay with us as we still have a couple of our Freedom of the Flame Awards to deliver. But as we continue to carry on with our program, I want to take a moment to acknowledge some of those behind the scenes that make these moments possible. All right? And I'm going to tell you right now, anytime anyone who's ever been in this position knows that it's impossible to mention everybody. And you always worry, am I going to miss this name or that name? But first and foremost, if I can ask those who stand in arms with me day in, day out, as members of the Jubilee Board, to stand up and be acknowledged. Please, all members of the Selma Bridge Crossing Jubilee Board, please stand up. There's never enough words and never enough time to give proper justice to not just one husband, not just one wife, but a power couple who made this commemoration even possible as we celebrate our 30th year of the commemoration. But please help me in recognizing the other half of that power couple. You already heard from Mama Fire Rose, Senator Hank Sanders. When we walk in the footsteps of giants, not only is it impossible to fill those footsteps, it's often impossible to appreciate how much they've done. So to the Sanders family, I cannot say thank you enough. We also welcome Dr. James Mitchell, the president of Wallace Community College. Dr. Mitchell, who again always hosts in his incredible facility the Martin and Coretta Scott King Unity Breakfast that I know many of you will be attending tomorrow morning. We recognize Reverend Dr. Benjamin Chavis, here recognized for the years of work, the decades of work that he's done on behalf of our community. And you've heard me say his name before, but again, to be in the presence of Dr. Bernard Lafayette. Dr. Bernard Lafayette, if you could stand, and Mama Kate, Dr. Bernard and Mama Kate Lafayette, please join me in acknowledging them for their incredible work. Dr. Lafayette, thank you for your years of service. Thank you. So we've just got a couple of more awards to do. And trust me, I know when it gets to this time of the program, we've been here for a long time, but no, those folks that are included here on this program that we're recognizing tonight have done amazing work. At this point, I'm going to ask you to join me in welcoming the Sustainer of the Flame awardee, Miss Deborah Watkins. Now, as Miss Watkins makes her way to the stage, that's right. As Miss Watkins makes her way to the stage, I'm going to share something with you because it wasn't until maybe just before I came up here that I got to meet her in person. But Miss Watkins, who is the executive director of an education network, a black education network, is one of these people who you may have never heard of before, but because of her, the work that Baba Mikasa, when we were all cheering for, right? She's the one that funds that work to make that happen. Many of you all heard the workshops of our brilliant brother, Dr. Tony Browder, earlier, and his amazing daughter, right? This sister right here is the one who puts dollars to action. So we give you this word. Not only are you the sustainer of the flame, you also ignite it as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Y'all having a good time? I am. I just, so I am a fundraiser for the race. I like to raise millions of dollars to fund black-led organizations. And I have been blessed to work with some of the most brilliant minds in the country. I have been able to raise money for amazing work really all over the world. And at this time, I just want to acknowledge some of the people whose work I have had the privilege of funding who are here tonight. And I want to start with my business partner of 10 years, Mr. Tony Browder. And not only have we funded his work in Egypt and Kemet, but also he used to come to California every month for 4 years and teach in 3 high schools. And we created a program called the Cultural Imperative Initiative that then became the Cultural Imperative Program that was in 40 cities around the country. Somebody ought to say Ashe. We don't wait for people to give us permission to teach African and African American history. We do it on our own. We must continue to teach our children on our own. Atlantis Browder is another young lady whose work is amazing. She actually works for a Black Education Network part-time and has created the only culturally relevant STEM program in the entire world. By Black people, for Black people. Say Ashe to Atlantis. And Baba, I don't know where Baba Lenny went, but his Black Family Summit is another organization, there he is, another organization that we are loving to support in many ways, not only by our presence, but also the ideas we bring to the table. And Mama Roz Prudhomme, my spiritual mother right here, I would not be able to stand all of the challenges of raising this kind of money if it were not for Mama Roz Prudhomme, who is the wind beneath my wings. So on behalf of all of the, we're talking thousands of Black children whose lives have been improved by the work of a Black Education Network and the money we've been able to raise. Oh, I forgot that we also poured into Fire Rose. We actually presented her with a $5,000 check just a few years ago. And we plan to present her with another $5,000 check. Can somebody say Ashe? Ashe. And I would love for you to dig in your pockets and present her with a similar amount of money, if not more. Please, please, by all means. So on behalf of all of the children who benefit from the work of a Black Education Network, again, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much. We're going to keep the program moving right along with our Restorers of the Flame awardees. And as we welcome them, please welcome to the stage Brother Obi Agbuna and Atlantis Browder. Now, these are individuals that not only are we aware of their work, but that have a personal, close relationship with me and my sister. Obi, not only is he a novelist, a poet, a journalist, a scholar, but he was that brother on my first year at Howard. When I heard that message going out about Pan-Africanist students coming together as the president of the Pan-African Student Union, Obi then, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, still is standing strong and leading the fight for not just our liberation here, but around the world. So we recognize Obi as a restorer of the flame.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me? I won't be long. On behalf of the Zimbabwe-Cuba Friendship Association, which I'm the first external relations officer of, on behalf of the children I work with in the Mass Emphasis Children's History and Theater Company, the Mass Emphasis Positive Action and Creativity Youth Brigade, and the Mass Emphasis Children's History, Education, and Navigational Institute, I'm so honored to be here, keeping the flame. When I first got this award, I thought I was a victim of mistaken identity. I don't think I've worked enough. But awards like this have a positive because every now and then
as we live in the surveillance capital of the world, ain't nothing wrong with letting the FBI and CIA have an updated picture of you. I want to quickly go over people who I think who never got this award that were more deserving. When I first started coming to Selma 13 years ago, I talked to Sister Faya about Jack Odell getting this award. Those of you who remember Jack Odell, he was Dr. King's first advisor in SCLC, and the Kennedys told Dr. King to remove him from the staff. I think he's more deserving just for that. Who is more deserving? The Henry Reeve Medical Brigade of Cuba, the doctors that during the genocidal corona pandemic sent doctors to 57 brigades to 40 nations and became the face of the global fight to eradicate the corona pandemic. They are more deserving. But what this gives us an opportunity to do is make a quantum leap in terms of evolution. All of you here, based on the labor that you engage in, you are no strangers in speaking truth to power. But Africa, the African fighting spirit that best represents our genuine resistance, dictates that we go from speaking truth to power to speaking truth about power so that we can organize and take power. And the only ones who will be indifferent to that are those who are hung up on the seductive appetizer called justice. You ate earlier, and all of you know that you go to certain places because the appetizer is delicious. But when you're really hungry, an appetizer can never be a substitute for an entree. Let's organize and fight for power. Kwame Ture, who trained me, Mukasa Dada, who trained me, said use these platforms to bring attention to issues that are unresolved. And yes, I use Kwame Ture's name because I know how everybody in this room is disgusted by white privilege, but I'll tell you one thing, white privilege ain't got nothing on white liberal latitude. And every Democrat that has gotten your vote, from Wilson when 500,000 of our people voted for him, from Roosevelt to Kennedy to Clinton, they have abused their white liberal latitude. And as Africa is our mother, tell Joe Biden tomorrow it's got to stop right this minute, right this second. That's the African fighting spirit we're talking about. A few issues real quickly. Assata Shakur needs to be removed from the United States list of terrorists. She isn't a terrorist. She's a warrior we love and walk in her footsteps. The $2 million bounty must be lifted on her head, and Cuba must be taken off the United States list of countries that engage in state-sponsored terrorism. They've never attempted to impersonate the United States. While the Anti-Defamation League goes around trying to make everybody feel guilty, calling us anti-Semitic, it's time for them to address the fact that the Anti-Defamation League invites police departments from Baltimore, from Washington, and all over the country to come and practice, learn from what they're doing to our Palestinian sisters and brothers, and come back and be prepared for us when we rise up and rebel. It's time for us to tell the African Union to remove Israel from their observer list. It's time for 47 of the 55 African nations to tell Israel to take a walk. We owe that to the Palestinians, and we owe that to the Africans who Israel terrorized in South Africa, in Mozambique, in Angola, going way back, and when the bombs they bombed in Kemet. In closing, lift the sanctions on Zimbabwe now. Lift the blockade on Cuba now, and hands off Eritrea, hands off Africa. Long live the African fighting spirit that represents why all of us are here. Thank you.
Can I talk about my sister?
At 8 years old, Atlantis Browder published her first book, My First Trip to Africa. Y'all remember that? I remember very well because it was one of the books that I used very often while teaching our history to my elementary school students. Writer, lecturer, historian, educational consultant, educator. Since the age of 8 years old, she has traveled the world over. She has been on a mission to educate, to inspire, and to liberate. Her contributions to educating children and adults about African and American history have been priceless. She has developed phenomenal Black history curricula, and something that I just learned, she has developed an African-centered STEM program unlike any other in the world. I heard that yesterday from Deborah Watkins. I'm going to say that again. She has developed an African-centered STEM program unlike any other in the world. For nearly 20 years, Atlantis has led her brilliance and dedication to the Children's Defense Fund Freedom Schools. Let me tell you something, Atlantis be on the humble, but trust me, this sister right here is a giant. I remember bumping into her sometimes in the hood, in the schools, in the midst of all that chaos and in the midst of so many adults who did not care about our children. She would be holding sacred space for our young people. Yes. She is the daughter of the legendary cultural historian and chematologist, Dr. Anthony Browder. And she works alongside her father with his ACER Restoration Project. She is also the national director for the IKG's cultural program and vice president of the IKG's Cultural Center in Washington, D.C. She is a powerful continuum of her family legacy. Lastly, last year, both Atlantis and her father were installed as nanas in the central region of Ghana. So let us bring now to the stage Atlantis Browder, also known as Nana Prabha II.
Good evening. I said good evening. All right. First and foremost, let me just say it is such an honor to receive this award, especially to share the stage with so many individuals, as you all know, who have helped to change history. I'm not going to take a lot of time, but I do think it's so important for me to acknowledge the adults and elders whose shoulder I stand on. So first and foremost, I gotta acknowledge Mama Fire Rose. Mama Fire Rose, let's give her a hand. Because sometimes all it takes is just one person to believe in you, but I've had such a large community and family to believe in me, to support me, and keep on encouraging me. Because as you all know, this work is very difficult, right? It gets a little frustrating, but you gotta keep on pushing because you know we're not just doing it for us, but we're doing it for future generations. So I have to give a shout out to Deborah Watkins, who has brought me on board with the Ben to do some amazing work, and my father. Those who don't know me, I'm a daddy's girl. I'm 40 years old, but as early as I can remember, I always wanted to be just like my dad. He is my role model. He is my everything. And one of the things that I love most about him is that everything that he expected me to do, he modeled it for me. Everything from reading to eating healthy to exercising, anything that you can think of. And so my father, Anthony Browder, is one of the best things that could have ever happened to me. And if it were not for my father, I know I would not be here today. So I have to take this moment to acknowledge my father. Please stand up, stand up, stand up. Let's give him a hand. Yes. And so before I leave the stage, I just want to take this opportunity to say to every adult in this room, I'm sure you're probably already changing lives, but you all know at least one child that could use just a little bit more, a little bit of guidance, just a little push. And what I encourage you to do today is identify that child and make it your intention within the next 24 to 48 hours to reach out to a young child who you know needs some love, who needs a hug, who needs just a little bit of encouragement, words of encouragement. Because as Sister Ayana has said, working at Maya Angelou, which is an alternative school, I could not have imagined the extent to which I've had such a powerful impact on children. And it had nothing to do with me teaching history, but it was the love, it was the encouragement that they needed so badly. So I encourage you to love on a child very deeply, and most importantly, buy them a book. We got to make sure our young people are reading, right? Because with technology, they're moving away from it, but we have the power to bring it back. And I want to thank you all for being here, supporting this event, supporting Mama Rose and Baba Hank. And thank you, thank you, thank you.
We've got 2 awards left, and as we get ready to present those, I want to give a special recognition for the coordinator of the Freedom Flame Awards, Ms. Shelley Fearson. Again, Ms. Shelley Fearson, without the work of those behind the scenes, we would not be able to do this. As I'm reading this by, I want to have a bring to the stage, as we come to our last 2 awards, Mr. Carlos Chevers Jr. Mr. Charvo, yes, please, let's give it up, y'all. The theme for tonight is the youth and the young people, and certainly this flame has been carried from the beginning to the end. So, born and raised in Pratt City in Inslee, Alabama, this aspiring young professional is the eldest of 4. He's a serial entrepreneur and currently the principal political strategist for his own business. Additionally, he's the executive director of his own foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit organization, the Carlos Chavez Foundation, founded in 2015, and his passion lies in civic engagement. And he has the privilege of supporting many organizations on the local and national level. And again, as we bring you to the mic, again, it is the importance of not just acknowledging the work that has been done, but those that we are handing that flame off to. And so with that, I welcome you and I thank you as our recipient.
Hello, everybody. Hope you all are doing very well. It's such a pleasure to be here tonight to receive such a distinguished award that, you know, and also to step in behind the steps of so many that have led the roles before us. I think the work that a lot of us as young people are able to do is very important. Many of the people and leaders of the past and of today started when they were young people. They started when they were 18, 19, 20 years old. At the age of 15, I dedicated my life to public service and being able to be a vessel for other people. I'll turn 30 this year. I'm excited and happy to be here with my wife of almost a year in May. I think we have to continue building black communities and work toward the ultimate goal of equity. I think we reached the goal of equality, but I think now we have to go a step further and deal with equity. When we look at our communities, we see black kids having to take out student loans at higher rates than white kids. That's a problem. That's a lack of equity. It's a problem when a black family puts their home up for appraisal and the home is valued at $259,000 less than when a white family put the same home up for appraisal and it was appraised for $750,000. That shows a lack of equity in this country. When 90% of the appraisers are white. It's a lack of equity when we look at our communities and black and brown men and women have to be killed at the hands of police. Nathaniel Wood's life was taken by the state of Alabama for no reason at all. Right now, there's a 15-year-old kid named Lakeith Smith who's still locked up in prison for a crime in Alabama that he didn't do. The police killed someone and he is serving time for it. Fortunately, a judge has given him a resentencing, which is scheduled for March 21st. It's a reason that we have to step up and fight for young people like E.J. Bradford, who was killed by a Hoover police officer in the Galleria Mall for simply trying to help another family. We have to continue stepping up. The fight doesn't stop. We have to fight for equity. The fight we are in right now is about equity. And that's why I implore all of us to do, is to continue the fight, but make sure that we fight for equity, not only for us, but make sure that we provide equity for everyone across the world. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you, sir. All right, thank you all for staying with us and keeping the energy going as we bring up our final awardees receiving the Builders of the Flame Award. It's only fitting that while we're honoring young people working in the movement, understanding the power of the collective. So as I say their names as they come up, first we're gonna ask, as they make their way to the stage, the members of Alabama Rally Against Injustice: Karen Vance, Jordan A. Giddens, Sharice Spicer, Wambai Kinuthia, and our own board member, Alicia Irby. As you all make your way to the stage, it's important to understand that the work that we continue to do and that needs to be done isn't just, while it's honoring the work that has been done, it's also dealing with the current and new obstacles that are there. These young folks here are not only doing that work, but teaching and training those in our community how to protect themselves, how to stand strong in the face of injustice. Not just to say, go and do this, but teaching them how to do that. So I thank you and honor you as builders of the flame and continuing on in that legacy. And I ask Alicia to come to the mic as we accept the award for your group. Thank you.
I didn't have much to say, but I do have some members that do want to say something. So come on. Hey everybody, how are you? So he kind of butchered my name. So my name is Wamboike Nodir. I'm originally from Nairobi, Kenya. I started the organization, Alabama Rally, 12 years ago when I got here. I was 21. And I was like, we need an organization that rallies rapidly when things happen, and that is what we do. And I'm so happy to be fighting for my fellow black people here. So we love you guys from Africa. It's only that sometimes in Africa we don't know the stories. They hide the stories from us of what really goes on in this country. So when we come here, that's when we see the reality of stuff and how we have to step in. So let's continue standing strong. Let's continue empowering our youth. The ones at home, build them up. Let them have no fear, because fear is the one that deadens us. You know what I mean? So let's live in strength, power, and a whole lot of love for each other. Thank you.
I'm a child of Selma. They call me a Charette Spicer. I want to shout out my parents there. My daughter is here. My parents, y'all wave. My parents, would y'all wave? Hey, thank you. My daughter, Radiance, thank you. I'm a child of Selma, and I am really grateful for everything that Selma has taught me. If it wasn't for the teachings of a Dr. Lafayette, I would be in the pen right now. You know, learning nonviolence really has saved my life and probably the life of others. So thank you, Dr. Lafayette. Thank you, Fire Rose, for exposing us to the history. I wanted to say what I learned from Selma, we took to Birmingham and applied it. That's why you see the dream, right? You see red and yellow, black and white, right? We're together fighting for justice. I want to say, and if you know what to say it with me. I am a 21st century leader. I must prepare myself to be the very best that I can be. I must prepare my mind, my body, and my spirit. And in time, I'll shine. You'll shine. We'll shine in the 21st century like never before. Like never before. Like never before. I am, you are, we are the 21st century leaders. And before I hand it off,
South, I gotta say, don't tell me we don't have any heroes. Oh, don't tell me we don't have any heroes. Just take a good look around you. Their stories will astound you. Don't tell me we don't have any heroes. We said, don't tell me we don't have any sheroes. Oh, don't tell me we don't have any sheroes. Just take a good look around you. Their stories will astound you. Don't tell me we don't have any sheroes. Black power. What you got? Thank you.
Bird. This is a complete honor. I have had the privilege of working alongside these activists for the last 10 years. I come from Coleman, Alabama, which has a horrible reputation. It's an honor to have been able to fight for justice and fight for equality and equity in Alabama, where we continue to see that not happening. So thank you all so much for this incredible honor and for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for you and me. Yeah, 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 yeah. Ooh, ooh, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, hey, yeah, 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 yeah. I want y'all to repeat after me. Are you ready? Everybody, repeat after me. Everybody say, hi, ya, 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 ya. Hi, ya, 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 ya. Oh, oh, oh. Hi, ya, 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 ya. Hi, ya, 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 ya. Oh, oh, we are the ones we've been waiting for. No more waiting, kick down the door. We are the ones we've been waiting for. No more waiting, kick down the door. No more living small, no more giving just a little. No more being shy, no more staying in the middle. We're about to take flight, so you better hold on. Flying through the night, put your night vision on. With the eye of the eagle, the heart of a lion, the wings of an angel to keep me flying. Light as a feather, cause I smile every day. The love in my heart, I give it away. Places we will go, things that we will see. Heaven only knows all that we will be. See the magic that you have. If you only knew who you really are, the things that you could do. Everybody say, hey, star people. 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 Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Everybody say love, 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 love. Hi, 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 hi. Ay, 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 ay. As we stand in the middle of what some would call the best of times and others would call the worst of times, what I know is that we are right on time. I know that we were built for this moment. I know that we were born for this moment. I know that we are the ones that we have been waiting for. Ashe, Ashe, Asheo. I love you. Thank you.
For the loyal that lasted to the end, thank you so much. There are several presentations I must make. Dr. Hart has been our treasurer for 25, 30 years. She's not here tonight, but she's just been an awesome servant. So we wanted to present her the Gladys Dudson Service Award. We call this the Gladys Dudson. Her husband's here. Where is he? Did he leave? He had to leave? Leonard. We named this award after your dear wife because she was such a loyal servant. Even when the cancer had ravaged her body, she didn't stop working. So on behalf of the Jubilee, we present, Dr. Hart is not here. Y'all give us some love. Rebecca Marion, after Gladys died, we needed a strong president of our board. And this sister stepped forward with much love and compassion. The Gladys Service Award to my dear friend, Rebecca Marion. Sam Walker, I don't see Sam Walker, but we also have the award for him. Now this is the last award. This is going to be hard, and I'm glad most people are gone on the families left. My sister Carolyn Bonner is the president of the board of the National Voting Rights Museum. She's a co-founder of the Bridge Crossing Jubilee. She's a co-founder of the National Voting Rights Museum. It was during the Jubilee some 20 years ago that her husband transitioned. We never gave Carolyn an award. Her children are in a Birmingham hospital today to decide whether or not they will let her just die. My heart is there, but she is still with us. So I personally present, with the board's approval, do I have y'all approval? To present Carolyn Gaines Bonner the Gladys Dudson Service Award. I really should have done this before all the people left. We had several contests, and my children who won the contest are gone. We had the first Voting Rights History Bowl. And the sister who was in charge, and I had to do absolutely, you know, it's good when you can delegate something, you don't have to do nothing. You know what a great feeling that is? The children are gone, but they won $500. And then we had an essay contest, and I wish I had time to read to you what sixth graders said about voting. We did a book called A Time to Know. And this book starts with the Revolutionary War and the long struggle for the right to vote. Those of you who are left, this is what I'm asking y'all to do. Purchase 2 of these books for $25. And it's filled with beautiful, even Dr. Warnock is in it. You will give one of these books to a student and become a mentor of a Freedom Scholar. When they read the book, you will give them $10. You will discuss the book. And I want to see if any of you are committed to doing that. If we are going to really save this democracy, we need a generation that will fight for it. We have these books on sale tonight. They're 2 for $25. You buy one, you give one to a Freedom Scholar. Maxine wanted to help me make this last acknowledgement as she come forth. Maxine, but as she come forth, I want to recognize these beautiful queens. Miss Jubilee. Miss Jubilee Queens, come forward. Miss Jubilee Queens, come forward. This beautiful sister volunteered. The way the Jubilee works, y'all, is mainly through volunteers. Don't believe all those lies they say about me and Hank. We didn't take no $1 million and build no house in Montgomery. We're still living in that tornado house right down the road. The Jubilee operates on volunteers. If you do anything as a volunteer for the Jubilee, please stand up. Please stand up. Before these queens introduce themselves, Maxine, Dick Gregory came to Selma every Jubilee he could when he was alive. I broke my ankle in an Atlanta airport trying to get to his homegoing. But Dick Gregory didn't really die in spirit, because his beloved children have been with us. And I want Maxine just to say something before we introduce our queens about the Gregory children. Your MCs are Dick Gregory's daughter and son.
Okay, thank you very much. While these beautiful, beautiful women are standing behind me, I want to thank all of you for your participation, for your being willing to be contestants, for willing to be honored. You're beautiful, you're gorgeous, you're wonderful. Give them a big round of applause. I didn't know I was going to be on stage with such beautiful people. I had told Rose earlier that when she thanked two very special people, I wanted to join with her in thanking them. Ladies and gentlemen, these are Dick Gregory's children. Step out. We all know, we all knew and honored Dick Gregory. Dick Gregory had a wonderful brain and a fabulous mind, and he would engage us for hours. We would stay up all night listening to Dick Gregory, who had read every newspaper in the world and carried them around with him and helped to predict what was going to happen, not only in politics, but in every aspect that you could imagine. And he was an unusual human being with unusual family. Now, I want you to know, I love Lil. Lil would put you with him wherever he was on the road. If you got to her, she would talk with you, she would help you, and I was forever calling on him to show up, to be at some event, and no matter when I called or what I wanted, Lil helped me. And so you come from wonderful parents, Lil and Dick, and you are very special, and I want you to know that. And I want you to know the way that you're living your lives, the way that you involve yourself in Selma and civil rights and human rights and all of that would make Dick so very proud. So I want you to give them a big round of applause, a big round of applause. And I want to thank you, and I want you to remember that your dad is recorded in history as one of the most intelligent, one of the most profound, one of the most man of wisdom and knowledge that anybody could ever meet in a lifetime. He was absolutely fabulous. And I don't want to keep talking except to say this. You know, I think about him because he changed what happened in nightclubs. And it started in Los Angeles. And he said, when I'm performing, there will be no alcohol. All right? But Dick was like that. And I would see him in events where he was on stage speaking truth to power in a way that most people would never do, would be afraid to do. But he was afraid of nothing or nobody. And he spoke his mind. And he said what he believed. And I consider myself not only one of his friends, but he helped me because he really taught me nutrition. And when he came to Los Angeles years ago, we would join in eating the right food a long time ago. Dick used to weigh, I don't know, 300-something pounds. But you saw what he did. If you saw what Dick did, you can do it too. So thank you so much. As I watch the two of you, and I think about from whence you come, I'm thinking to myself, you know, some children don't know the gifts that they get, but I think you do. Not only do you know the gifts that have been given to you by your parents, you're living a life that proves that you understand, you know, and you honor your parents in a very special way. And I'm not going to say anymore because I could talk about Dick all night long. But he was truly a special human being. Thank you so very much. Thank you for Selma. Thank you for being here. Thank you for emceeing and guiding the program. We love you and thank you so very much.
Thank you. I have the honor now of introducing these young, wonderful leaders that we just crowned this evening. We actually made history tonight. Previously, we only had Miss Jubilee, but we wanted to scale this down to our middle school, but the thought is we build leaders from the ground up. We don't wait till they get to high school. So we're starting with elementary school all the way through college. So we have also, Miss Fire Rose said, I want to bring something in for young men. So we have our first Mr. Jubilee, our first Team Miss Jubilee, our first Preteen Jubilee, and our first Young Miss Jubilee, ranging from the ages of 10 years old to...
I'm 21 years old.
16 years old. I'm 20 years old.
12 years old. 10 years old.
And I'm going to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves, but then we're going to give you also a little selection that we pulled together in one night. And this is how talented they are. These young people came together within a week's time, pulled together these numbers, and you won't be able to tell that they just met 2 days ago. We're starting with our young teammates.
Hi, my name is Tessa Renee Brown, and I'm so glad to be here to see all of you and to represent Selma, Alabama, and to represent my Black history.
Hi, my name is Jade Smart. I'm from Montgomery, Alabama, and I've had a lot of fun tonight. This is my first ever time being in a pageant or anything. Yeah, y'all look very beautiful tonight.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Adia Stampley, and I am from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I am currently a junior at the Alabama State University, and I am honored to serve as Miss Jubilee.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mackenzie Lewis. I am 16 years old, and I am from Columbus, Ohio. I am a junior in high school, and I'm so excited to be here with you guys. It might not look like it, but trust me, I am. I had a very long day. I was up since 5:30. But yes, I'm so happy to have this reign with my amazing brother and my amazing sisters. This is going to be amazing. And to you guys, don't stop fighting until you get what you need and until you get what you want. Because we don't stop, because God didn't raise quitters, and that's what we're not. We're not quitters. So continue to fight. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Donovan McFadden from Germantown, Maryland, and I am also a junior and attend the Alabama State University. And I'm so happy and privileged to serve as your first Mr. Jubilee. Thank you.
And God knows what he does. He does very well. Let me tell you, I have a full ensemble here. I have dancers, singers, speakers, writers, all on the stage, and they're multi-talented. So we're doing the final number, and this one says, I can sing. I can sing. So what we're going to do is the last number. We're going to do it a cappella for you this time because we had music before, but we're going to pull it together for you. Okay, so I need you to come in together because we have to share one mic this time. All right. I've been walking with my face into the sun. Weight on my shoulders and a bullet in my gun. Children, I come back today to tell you the story of the long, dark way that I had to climb, that I had to know in order that my race might live and grow.
So I'm gonna stand up and take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home. Far across the river, you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer. I'm gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my bones. Way up, way up, way up. Early in the morning, before the sun begins to shine, way up. I'm gonna start moving towards that separating line. I'm wading through muddy waters because I've got a made up mind. And I don't mind if I lose any blood on the way to salvation. And I'll use all the strength that I've got until I die. So I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home. Far across the river, you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer. Gonna keep on keeping on, feel it in my bones.
Oh, what's rather been might be hard to beat 'cause I'm alone, and I just might fail, but Lord knows I tried. Sure stars fill up the sky.
Stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home. Far across the river, you hear freedom.
Outstanding, outstanding, outstanding. So here we are at the end of our program, and just no better way to end that before where we get the benediction from Reverend Dr. Benjamin Chavis. But give it up again for not only the youth, but the future of our movement. And thank you, Ms. Robinson, for bringing this very important tradition back to Jubilee. As Dr. Chavis comes up, we acknowledge again all of you for staying with us through this night. We give thanks and praise for Betty Fikes, who had came in. I know we acknowledged her earlier, but thanks for joining us this evening. Honor our sister who joined us all the way from Senegal, West Africa, Sister Kumba. We give thanks and praise for the work that you do. And as we end, we give thanks and praise for the legend that's amongst us, Dr. Ben Chavis.
Thank you. Let us stand for our benediction. Let us stand for our benediction. And I would ask that in the spirit of African people, that as we give a final benediction, very short prayer, that we hold hands. Hold hands, please. Let us pray. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who has brought us through this night, we celebrate. We thank God for Hank and Rose Sanders. We thank God for the family of Dick Gregory. We thank God for the Honorable Maxine Waters. We thank God for all of those who have gotten awards tonight. And Lord, we thank God at this Jubilee as we prepare tomorrow to cross the bridge one more time. Our ancestors cry out that a luta continua, the struggle continues. Our prayer, and may the benediction of God's Spirit go with us now and remain with us, not only through this night, through tomorrow, through the year, but through eternity. We pray in the name of the one God. Amen. Heroes. Freedom Singers.
And Betty Fikes is with us, y'all, one of the original. She's supposed to get an award.
Hey, 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 hey.
Don't you have it written when we sing what's written here? We can overcome. We can overcome. We can overcome each day. Each day. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe. Oh, we can overcome each day. We all shall be free. We shall all be free. We shall all be free. We shall all be free someday. Oh, deep in
shall all be free someday. God is on our side. God is on our side. My Lord, God is on our side. God is on our side today. Today. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe, oh, God is on our side today.
We want to thank the caterers, y'all. They did an amazing job. Tamika and the caterers, y'all, just give them a hand, a shout of love. Thank you. And my JCSU friends are in the house. Yay!